The stars shone like scattered diamonds across the endless black of space. The orbital station Zyra, 9, floated silently among them, a massive structure of gleaming metal and light, its curves and towers reflecting the brilliance of nearby suns. Ships of every shape and size hovered in the docking bays, each designed to impress, intimidate, or carry secrets too dangerous for ordinary eyes. The Galactic Empire had summoned the best pilots from every corner of the galaxy for its annual demonstration, and the air around the station buzzed with excitement, competition, and quiet tension. Among the crowd of elite warriors and renowned pilots, a single figure moved with an almost casual air. Eli Corbin, a human from a distant frontier colony, stepped off his transport with a small duffel bag slung over one shoulder and a worn helmet tucked under his arm. His flight suit had seen better days, patches covered its faded fabric, and the insignia of his colony was barely visible. To the eyes of the Empire's most experienced pilots, he looked insignificant. A rookie, perhaps barely capable of handling a simple shuttle, let alone competing in the Empire's dangerous obstacle courses. Eli noticed the sneers before he even entered the main atrium. A group of insectoid pilots with iridescent carapaces whispered to each other, their mandibles clicking in amusement. Across the hall, a pair of reptilian warriors flexed their claws, smirking as they watched him struggle to carry his gear over the polished floor. Even the human delegates, proud of their own accomplishments, looked at him with polite curiosity, assuming he was a minor participant with little chance of standing out. He didn't mind. Eli had long since learned that underestimation was a human advantage in a galaxy that prized brute power and flashy displays. With a calm, measured step, he moved past the throng, scanning the arena and the massive structure of Zyra 9 itself. Sensors, navigation points, and flight control panels flickered in the distance, and the sight of them brought a faint smile to his face. "Captain Corbin, are you ready?" A voice called from behind him. It was soft, mechanical, yet warm, a standard AI assistant embedded in his helmet. Eli nodded without turning. "Ready as I'll ever be," he murmured, his voice steady. The atrium opened into the main observation hall, a space that could hold thousands, with balconies stacked high like tiers in a stadium. Alien spectators leaned over the rails, their eyes shining with anticipation. At the center, a massive holographic display projected the obstacle course in 3D, highlighting asteroid rings, plasma storm zones, and gravity slingshots that would challenge even the most skilled pilots. Above all, the Empress Leora sat on her golden throne, a figure of power and elegance. Her presence was commanding, yet serene, her eyes sweeping over the participants like a hawk measuring prey. Eli observed her silently. Unlike most leaders, she did not frown at a weak performance. Instead, she calculated, weighing each action, each decision. The first round of participants began their trials. Ships shot forward, leaving streaks of blue and red light in their wake. The course demanded precision, speed, and nerve. Some pilots executed flawless maneuvers, turning impossibilities into graceful arcs. Others, overconfident, collided with invisible barriers or overshot slingshots, sending themselves careening into asteroid rings. The Empress did not flinch, her gaze never leaving the holographic display. But Eli noticed the brief twitch of her hand when a particularly skilled pilot narrowly avoided disaster. When his turn came, Eli approached his small ship, a vessel that looked outdated compared to the sleek, shimmering crafts of the other pilots. It had seen years of service in fringe colonies, and had been modified subtly, with systems that no one in the Empire had ever encountered. He ran a hand along its hull, feeling the hum of energy beneath his fingertips. To the casual observer, it was a relic, a ship that would be forgotten in moments. To Eli, it was a weapon, a tool, and a key to proving humanity's place among the stars. He climbed into the cockpit, adjusting his helmet and engaging the systems. The controls responded smoothly, though he deliberately fumbled with the throttle, making it seem as if he were unsure. Alien pilots in nearby ships exchanged amused glances, whispering predictions of his failure. Even the mechanical assistant in his helmet seemed to detect the deception, though it remained silent, as if respecting his strategy. "Starting sequence initiated," the AI finally announced. "Prepare for launch in 3, 2, 1. The hatch closed, and the ship floated upward, following the magnetic rails that would guide it toward the main course. Eli's movements were slow, almost awkward, allowing the other participants to surge ahead. From the observation hall, it looked like he was struggling, confirming every alien pilot's assumption. A rookie, barely competent, destined to be left behind. He let them go, watching their movements carefully. Each turn, each acceleration, revealed patterns in the course. Plasma storms created unpredictable shifts in the magnetic field. Asteroid rings forced pilots to choose between speed and safety. Gravity slingshots punished even the slightest miscalculation. And yet, all the elite pilots relied on their instincts, overestimating their ship's abilities and underestimating the course's subtleties. Eli's eyes narrowed. He memorized every detail, every hazard, every minor adjustment required to maintain perfect trajectory. His fingers hovered over the controls, ready for the moment he would accelerate. The real race, he knew, would begin when the others assumed they had already won. From the stands, the Empress watched silently. Her expression was unreadable, but Eli felt as if her gaze pierced through the layers of pretense, seeing not a rookie, but a human calculating far beyond the apparent limits. He allowed himself a faint smile, knowing that she, of all beings in the galaxy, might be the first to understand his approach. Minutes passed, and the other pilots surged forward into the first plasma storm, their ships weaving through lightning arcs and unstable energy fields. A few crashed spectacularly, while others barely avoided collisions. Eli continued his slow ascent, watching, learning, and preparing. The AI's voice broke the silence. "Estimated time to intercept the main hazard zone, 5 minutes. Recommend acceleration." Eli shook his head, keeping his ship sluggish. "Not yet," he whispered. The arena outside the ship flashed with the chaos of the other pilots. Light streaked across the void, engines roaring, hulls scraping against barriers. The crowd cheered, some in admiration, others in disbelief, at the daring maneuvers displayed by these so-called masters. Eli allowed himself to imagine how they would react when he finally revealed his true skill, not through flashy displays, but through precision, speed, and calculated timing that no one could anticipate. Even as he moved slowly, he prepared mentally for the moment of acceleration. He ran through simulations in his head, considering every possible variable: gravitational fluctuations, energy discharge zones, the timing of enemy maneuvers, and the subtle shifts in the course that would give him the advantage. To the spectators, he seemed passive, cautious, even incompetent. But every second he delayed, every minor error he feigned, was part of the plan. A plan that would soon prove that humans could not only compete with the greatest of alien pilots, but surpass them in ways they could never imagine. The Empress leaned forward slightly, her fingers brushing the arm of her throne. There was a faint spark of interest in her eyes, almost imperceptible, as if she recognized the quiet potential in the human. For decades, she had seen countless beings underestimate humanity, dismissing their resourcefulness and audacity. This human, however, moved differently, and she noted it carefully. As Eli floated in his ship, poised at the edge of the first major hazard zone, he finally allowed a small adjustment to the throttle. The ship responded with grace, its engines purring quietly, ready to unleash speed when the moment arrived. He inhaled, steadying himself. Everything depended on timing. Too early, and the other pilots would have a chance to react. Too late, and he would waste the advantage he had meticulously prepared for. And so, he waited. Around him, the chaos of the arena continued. Alien pilots screamed past asteroid rings, narrowly missing disaster. Plasma arcs struck ships, sending sparks across the void. Every movement was watched by thousands, from spectators to commanders, from the Empress to other human delegates. And still Ellie floated silently, a calm figure in a storm of noise, waiting for the precise moment to reveal that the human spirit, underestimated for so long, could turn even the simplest appearance into a weapon of unmatched potential. For now, the galaxy thought him a rookie, a fool, a participant without hope. But Eli Corbin knew the truth. He was not here to compete. He was here to prove. And when the time came, the stars themselves would witness humanity's audacity. The arena hummed with energy as the next phase of the demonstration began. Ships darted forward like flares against the black void, engines leaving streaks of light that twisted and curved with every maneuver. Eli Corbin's ship moved slowly at first, deliberately holding back as if testing his own limits. The alien pilots zipped past him, their confidence obvious in every calculated turn, every sharp acceleration. They had no idea that he was watching, memorizing, and planning every move with precision far beyond what they imagined. The first section of the course was a gauntlet of asteroid rings, spinning in unpredictable patterns. Most pilots relied on speed and instinct, trying to weave through the openings as fast as possible. A few crashed spectacularly, their ships slamming into the rotating rocks, engines flaring in defeat. Eli floated forward, seemingly clumsy, misjudging an opening and nearly brushing a small asteroid. To anyone watching, it looked like rookie panic, but in truth, he had just mapped the ring's rotation, noting the subtle irregularities that would give him the advantage later. His ship hummed with quiet efficiency, responding instantly to even the smallest command. Unlike the larger, heavier alien crafts, his vessel was designed for precision. It could react faster, turn tighter, and accelerate in ways that seemed impossible to those who judged it by its worn appearance. The advantage was not just in speed, it was in timing, understanding, and the patience to wait for the perfect moment. As Eli maneuvered, he noticed the alien pilots around him beginning to show frustration. A sleek silver ship tried to overtake him aggressively, forcing a near collision. The pilot, a tall creature with multiple eyes and a sharp angular face, hissed through the communicator.
"Move aside, human! You will not block me!" Eli's fingers hovered lightly over the controls.
He shifted slightly, giving the alien just enough space to pass. The creature shot ahead, confident that it had dominated the path. But in his mind, Eli had already calculated how this overconfident pilot would approach the next obstacle, and he smiled faintly. The real race had not yet begun. The next section of the course was a plasma storm, arcs of searing energy dancing unpredictably through the void. Pilots who misjudged timing risked frying their engines or being thrown off course entirely. Most of the alien ships hesitated, overthinking the movement, trying to calculate every spark and pulse. Eli, however, moved with the calm precision of someone who had trained for moments like this. He let the storm flow around him, adjusting his path slightly with each flash of plasma, almost as if he were dancing with the energy rather than fighting against it. From the observation hall, the audience gasped as ships dodged dangerously close to arcs of plasma, some barely scraping through with engines smoking. Eli's slow approach made him appear cautious, almost timid. The Empress observed him quietly, her expression unreadable. Something about his movements intrigued her. He was not reacting like the other pilots. He was waiting, observing, and calculating. Not just the course, but the competitors themselves. The plasma storm ended, and the pilots entered a field of gravity slingshots. Massive rings of force bent the trajectory of anything that passed through them, throwing ships off balance if navigated incorrectly. Most pilots tried to rush through, relying on brute force to maintain stability. A few were flung violently into the outer edges of the course, engines screaming, their chances of winning evaporating in seconds. Eli slowed even more, letting others take the risk. He studied the precise timing of each slingshot, the way the forces interacted with his smaller ship, and how the larger alien crafts reacted differently to the same hazards. He adjusted his course with subtle precision, conserving energy while noting every possible angle for later acceleration. What looked like hesitation was actually preparation, a human technique of patience, something alien species rarely appreciated in high-speed combat. As he passed through the slingshots, a group of reptilian pilots began to mock him, their voices carrying over the communication network. "Is this your idea of piloting, human? You move like a child playing with toys." One of them even waved its claw, as if taunting him. Eli ignored the insults, though he felt a familiar thrill. The arrogance of the galaxy's elite was a tool he had learned to use. They assumed superiority, and that assumption would be their undoing. He reached a narrow tunnel carved into a massive asteroid, the walls glowing faintly with bioluminescent energy. The passage was so tight that a single mistake could crush a ship completely. The alien pilots shot ahead recklessly, nearly colliding with the walls in their haste. Eli moved deliberately, his sensors calculating every millimeter of clearance, every shift in the asteroid's rotation. He passed through without incident, his ship seeming almost to glide effortlessly, as if he were born to navigate impossibly small spaces at high speed. By now, some spectators began to notice that the rookie human was still in the running. Whispers spread across the hall. "Is he keeping up? That's impossible with that ship." Even a few alien commanders leaned forward, curiosity replacing their initial amusement. Eli had become an unexpected presence in the arena, and though he had yet to display his true speed, the tension around him was building. The course then entered the final preliminary section, a series of floating rings designed to test reflexes and split-second judgment. Each ring required precise alignment to pass through, and the challenge was made more difficult by the gravitational anomalies surrounding Zyra. 9. Most pilots approached with raw speed, trusting instinct alone. Some succeeded, others failed spectacularly. Eli, as always, moved slowly. He analyzed each ring, noting its rotation, angle, and the effect of nearby anomalies. He calculated the energy output required for perfect alignment and stored the sequence in memory. He deliberately made minor mistakes, brushing edges of the rings to maintain the appearance of a rookie still learning. The audience was mesmerized by the chaos around him, but paid little attention to the calm human hovering near the center of the course. Finally, Eli reached a wide-open space at the end of the preliminary section. The other pilots had surged ahead, some celebrating small victories, others struggling with near misses. Eli floated silently, taking a moment to center himself. He had learned the patterns of the course, the tendencies of his competitors, and the subtle variations in the environment. Every decision from this point forward could be made with perfect knowledge. The Empress shifted slightly on her throne. Her eyes narrowed, and she observed Eli with renewed interest. Something about the human's patience, the deliberate way he moved, suggested an intelligence that went far beyond instinct or training. He was playing a different game, one that required more than speed or power. He was playing a game of strategy, anticipation, and timing. Eli finally activated the ship's advanced systems, previously dormant to hide their capability. Energy surged through the engines, yet he kept the ship moving as if nothing had changed. The other pilots remained unaware, focused on maintaining their current lead, thinking the human would never catch up. But Eli had prepared for this exact moment. The acceleration waiting in his ship's core was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. He glanced around one last time, noting the positions of every rival. He calculated their likely moves in the next seconds, predicting which obstacles they would struggle with and which paths they would attempt to take. A small smile formed on his lips. Soon, the quiet patience that had concealed his true skill would transform into an unstoppable force. The time for pretense was over. With a gentle tap on the throttle, Eli began to move faster, subtly at first. The difference was barely noticeable to the untrained eye, but he felt the ship respond with perfect harmony. It was as if it had been waiting for his command all along. The first small acceleration gave him just enough speed to adjust for the next stage of the course. The alien pilots, still distracted by their own progress and the chaos around them, did not notice the change. The audience continued to cheer, oblivious to the subtle shift in momentum. Only the Empress seemed to detect it, a tiny flicker in the human ship, a hint of capability hidden beneath apparent incompetence. Eli's mind raced through calculations, not just of movement, but of timing, energy, and opportunity. Every second he delayed earlier had allowed him to learn, adapt, and prepare. Now the stage was set for something extraordinary. The galaxy had assumed it knew the limits of humans. It had been wrong every time, and in the emptiness of space, surrounded by chaos and spectacle, Eli was about to prove it once more. As he neared the end of the preliminary course, he allowed himself a brief thought. Speed alone would not win this race. Precision, anticipation, and the ability to exploit assumptions would determine the victor. And in this game, humans had long been underestimated. For now, he floated calmly, poised, and ready. The others raced ahead, blinded by confidence and raw power. But the moment of revelation, the acceleration that would leave everyone stunned, was almost at hand. Eli Corbin was no longer a rookie. He was something else entirely. And soon the stars themselves would bear witness to the audacity of humanity. Eli hovered at the edge of the final checkpoint, the calm eye in the storm of the arena. The other pilots surged ahead, their ships leaving trails of blazing light, engines roaring, and hulls gleaming as they twisted through the remaining obstacles. For them, victory seemed within reach. Each maneuver, each dodge, each burst of speed reinforced the illusion that they were in control, that no human, or anyone, could match their skill. But Eli had already calculated the moment of opportunity. Every twist of the asteroid rings, every pulse of the plasma arcs, every gravitational anomaly had been studied and stored in his mind. His ship, modest in appearance but extraordinary in capability, had been waiting silently for this moment. The pretense of hesitation and rookie clumsiness had lulled the competitors into overconfidence. He tapped the control lightly, activating the hidden acceleration system. The ship responded instantly, engines humming with power previously concealed. In a flash, Eli shot forward, the acceleration so sudden and precise that the other pilots scarcely had time to react. One moment he was trailing behind, and the next he was alongside the fastest craft in the arena, his small ship moving with an agility that seemed impossible. The alien pilots barely had time to register the shift. Screams of disbelief filled the communication channels. "Impossible! How is he moving so fast?" a silver-armored pilot yelled, its multiple eyes widening. Another, a tall insectoid, slammed into the side of a floating obstacle as it tried to match Eli's speed, the ship spinning wildly before regaining some semblance of control. Eli didn't just accelerate. He maneuvered with a precision that was almost artistic. He weaved through asteroid rings, timing his turns to match the unpredictable rotations perfectly. Plasma arcs were no longer threats. They were opportunities. Using the energy fields, he slingshotted past competitors, each movement measured and flawless. Where others relied on power and raw instinct, Eli relied on anticipation, calculation, and perfect timing. From the observation hall, the audience gasped. The visual displays of streaking lights became a blur as Eli's ship darted past others, seemingly ignoring obstacles that had tripped up the best pilots in the galaxy. Murmurs spread like wildfire. "The human! He's ahead! Impossible! He was just a rookie! Did anyone see what he just did?" Even the human delegates, proud of their species but wary of arrogance, stared in disbelief. Above all, the Empress Leora's eyes narrowed. She rose slightly from her throne, her golden robes shimmering under the hall's lights. For decades, she had witnessed overconfidence fail, talent underestimated, and the audacity of humans ignored. Yet something about Eli's sudden dominance stirred a rare thrill within her. His movements were not just fast, they were deliberate, fearless, and intelligent. He wasn't merely winning. He was rewriting what was considered possible. Eli's path twisted into the final ring sequence, a section designed to punish even the smallest miscalculation. Each ring required perfect alignment, and the gravitational anomalies of Zyra 9 made every maneuver unpredictable. The alien pilots approached with frantic energy, trying to maintain their lead. Some scraped the edges, sparks flying as hulls struck the glowing surfaces. Others were flung off course entirely, their ships spinning into the void. Eli moved calmly. He timed each pass perfectly, gliding through rings with an elegance that made the impossible look easy. Each acceleration, each turn was calculated to gain maximum advantage. The speed was intoxicating, the power exhilarating. Yet his movements were always in complete control. Where others relied on brute force, he relied on mastery. A massive asteroid loomed ahead, spinning unpredictably and creating a dangerous gap in the course. Alien pilots panicked, trying to navigate the rotation at maximum speed. Several collided, engines sparking, hulls groaning. Eli approached it at a slightly slower speed, using the momentum of his acceleration to curve around the asteroid in a perfect arc. In a blink, he had passed, maintaining velocity while others struggled to correct their paths. From the observation hall, the crowd erupted. Cheers and gasps mixed as they watched the small human ship overtake the largest and most technologically advanced vessels. Screens displayed close-ups of pilots' shocked expressions. Some looked furious, others bewildered. None could comprehend how the slow, clumsy rookie had transformed into the fastest, most precise pilot in the arena. Even the Empress allowed herself a faint smile. She had seen talent before, and yet Eli was something different. The courage to feign weakness, the intelligence to observe and calculate, and the nerve to accelerate at the exact right moment. These were qualities rarely seen in one being, and the human had them all. Eli's acceleration carried him into the last obstacle, a twisting, spiraling chute of energy rings, designed to break even the most experienced pilots. Aliens raced ahead recklessly, their ships colliding, skidding, and scrambling to maintain balance. Eli moved with serene focus, anticipating every shift in the energy fields. Bent the limits of his ship, turning impossible angles, accelerating just enough to stay ahead while conserving energy for the final push. The moment of truth arrived. The final straightaway, a wide-open path leading directly to the finish line. The alien pilots, scattered and disoriented, had no chance of catching him. Eli's ship surged forward with incredible speed, leaving streaks of light that dazzled the eyes and distorted perception. The crowd in the observation hall could barely follow his path, watching as the human ship overtook the remaining competitors in a display that seemed almost supernatural. As he crossed the finish line, the arena fell into stunned silence for a heartbeat. Then the sound erupted. A roar of astonishment, awe, and disbelief. Screens showed alien pilots floating helplessly behind him, some clutching controls in frustration, others staring in shock. Eli's ship hovered for a moment, engines pulsing, as if savoring the victory that had been meticulously planned and executed. From the highest balcony, the Empress rose fully from her throne. Her presence was commanding, her robes flowing as she moved with grace and authority. She stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Eli's small ship. The silence in the hall was profound, a mixture of reverence and astonishment. "He has changed the game," whispered one of her advisors. The Empress's gaze softened, yet her sharpness never wavered. She had witnessed countless demonstrations, countless victories, and countless defeats. Yet this human, this unassuming figure who had pretended to be a rookie, had done something that even the greatest of her empire could not anticipate. Eli floated his ship to a halt near the center of the arena, ejecting lightly to the surface where the Empress would descend. Every movement was deliberate, calm, and confident. He removed his helmet, revealing a face that was composed but carrying a faint spark of satisfaction. The audience, still reeling from his performance, leaned forward as he made his way toward the throne. Alien pilots muttered among themselves, some still trying to comprehend what had just happened. A few muttered curses, while others simply stared in admiration. The idea that a human could outperform the galaxy's best seemed impossible, yet there it was. Evidence in motion, undeniable and spectacular. The Empress stopped at the base of her throne. She looked down at Eli, her golden eyes assessing him carefully. There was no scorn, no derision, only a measured curiosity. She had expected a failure, a spectacle of overconfidence, perhaps even a disaster. Instead, she found herself face to face with someone who had not only survived but dominated. "You have altered the expectations," she said, her voice calm yet resonant throughout the hall. "You have done what others believed impossible. How did you achieve this?" Ellie smiled faintly, keeping his response simple. "I did not rush. I observed, I waited, and I acted when the moment was right." The Empress nodded, a rare expression of approval touching her features. Patience, intelligence, and courage. Qualities rarely found together, yet you possess them all. Humanity may have underestimated itself, but perhaps I should not. Her statement carried weight, not just for Eli, but for the entire audience. It was an acknowledgement that humans, long considered minor players in the Galactic Order, were capable of feats that demanded recognition, respect, and caution. The hall erupted once again, this time with cheers that mingled with disbelief. Aliens and humans alike recognized that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a display of skill and audacity that would be remembered for decades. Eli stood before the Empress, calm but alert, knowing that this was only the beginning, the acceleration, the victory, the mastery of the course. It was a declaration. Humanity had arrived, and it would no longer be underestimated. The Empress extended a hand, a rare gesture of respect from a ruler who seldom acknowledged the skill of outsiders. "Come," she said. "You have earned my attention. Let us speak further." Eli's eyes met hers, steady and unflinching. He had won the race, captured the awe of the galaxy, and earned a place in the consideration of the most powerful being in the Empire. Yet he knew this victory was more than a personal triumph. It was a statement. Humanity had the audacity, the skill, and the intelligence to challenge even the most established powers. As he followed the Empress, the crowd continued to roar, the arena still alive with the echoes of the human pilot who had pretended to be a rookie, only to accelerate beyond imagination. Aliens murmured, human delegates whispered, and the galaxy watched silently, knowing that the balance of perception had shifted in an instant.
Eli had not just won a race.
He had altered the expectations of an empire. And the Empress, rising from her throne, was the first to recognize it. Eli followed the Empress through the wide corridors of Zyra. 9. The crowd's cheers still echoing faintly in the distance. The human ship that had just stunned the galaxy remained tethered near the arena, a silent witness to the audacity of its pilot. The corridors were lined with glowing panels and polished metal, reflecting the grandeur of the Empire, despite the magnificence around him. Eli's mind was clear, focused. This was not just a victory in a race. It was the beginning of something much larger. The Empress moved with a regal grace, her golden robes flowing behind her, as she led him toward a private chamber. Her expression was calm, but her eyes betrayed interest, curiosity, and a hint of respect. It was rare for her to personally engage with outsiders, even those who displayed exceptional skill. Yet Eli had done something different. He had proven that humans, long underestimated, could think, act, and achieve beyond expectation. Not just the competitors, but me as well. She paused, her gaze steady on him. "Tell me, Captain Corbin, why did you pretend to be a rookie?" Eli smiled faintly, a mixture of humility and quiet pride. "Because if they underestimate you, you have an advantage. They reveal their weaknesses, make mistakes, and show their patterns. All I had to do was wait for the right moment to act."
The Empress considered his words carefully.
Patience and observation, qualities often missing in the galaxy's greatest. You did not rely on raw power alone. You relied on understanding. That is what sets you apart. She moved closer, her eyes studying him as if weighing not just his skills, but the essence of his being. "Humans have long been underestimated, perhaps for the wrong reasons."
Eli nodded. "We've been underestimated because others assume weakness is visible."
They assume we lack the technology, the experience, or the strategy. But humans have always adapted. We survive where others fail. We improvise, and we act when the moment is right. That's why I was able to accelerate at the perfect time. The Empress leaned back slightly, her expression thoughtful. And now the galaxy has witnessed it. Not just your skill, but the audacity of your species. You've challenged assumptions, and in doing so, you've made many reconsider what humans are capable of. Eli's mind raced with possibilities. The victory in the arena had been spectacular, but it was only the first step. If the Empire acknowledged human potential, it could open doors to alliances, influence, and opportunities that had been closed for generations. Yet he also knew the risks. Recognition from the Empress was both a blessing and a challenge. Humans would be watched more closely now, and the eyes of rivals would follow every move. The Empress gestured toward a holographic table in the center of the chamber, displaying star charts, fleet positions, and galactic trade routes. "I want to know more about your capabilities," she said. "Your approach, your technology, your strategy. If humans can achieve what you have demonstrated, it could reshape the balance of power in the Empire." Eli studied the maps, noting key sectors, strategic choke points, and regions rich with resources. He realized the Empress was testing him, not with words or questions, but with observation and expectation. His response would determine not just her trust, but humanity's place in the eyes of the Empire. "I can share what I know," he said carefully. "But humans have always relied on ingenuity, not just raw technology. Some of our methods are experimental, designed for adaptability rather than convention. That is how we succeed where others cannot." The Empress nodded, her golden eyes sharp. "Adaptability is rare in the galaxy. Most races cling to tradition, relying on established techniques and predictable patterns. Yet you broke every expectation, not with force, but with timing, patience, and observation." "That is a dangerous combination for both you and anyone who underestimates you." This acknowledgement was more than he had anticipated. The Empress had risen from her throne not merely to honor skill, but to recognize the audacity and potential of humanity itself. It was a rare moment in galactic history. "Captain Corbin," she continued, her tone shifting slightly, "you have proven something extraordinary today, but I want to see how you handle challenges beyond the arena. The galaxy is vast, filled with threats, alliances, and conflicts that require more than speed and skill. Do you believe humans can rise to meet such challenges?" Ellie met her gaze steadily. "We already have. Humans survive in the harshest conditions, adapt to the most dangerous environments, and overcome obstacles that others think impossible. We may not always be the strongest or the fastest, but we find ways to win." The Empress studied him for a long moment, then a small smile appeared on her face. "Perhaps it is time for the Empire to reconsider its assumptions. Perhaps it is time for humanity to take a more active role in shaping the galaxy." She paused, then added, "And perhaps it is time for you, Captain Corbin, to take your place among those who influence the future." This was more than recognition. It was an invitation, a challenge, and an opportunity all at once. To accept meant embracing responsibility, navigating political intrigue, and facing dangers far beyond an arena course. To decline would mean returning to obscurity, leaving humanity underestimated once more. "I accept. But know this, I will act in the best interests of humanity, and I will not let underestimation define us." The Empress inclined her head, a gesture of approval. "Then we are agreed. Your victory today is not just a demonstration of skill. It is a statement. The galaxy has witnessed the potential of humans, and that statement will not be forgotten." Outside the chamber, the arena still buzzed with activity. Alien pilots had regrouped, some nursing bruised egos, others calculating how to counter the unexpected prowess of a human pilot. Spectators whispered among themselves, replaying the incredible maneuvers, the sudden acceleration, and the audacity of the small, seemingly unassuming ship that had captured the attention of the entire galaxy. Eli stepped toward a viewing panel overlooking the arena. He watched his ship, still tethered, gleaming under the artificial lights. For a moment, he allowed himself a quiet satisfaction, knowing that what he had accomplished was more than just personal glory. It was a demonstration of humanity's potential, a signal to the galaxy that humans could not be ignored, underestimated, or dismissed. The Empress joined him, her gaze sweeping over the arena. "Many will attempt to follow in your path," she said softly.
"Some will succeed, most will fail. But you have set a new standard, not for speed, not for strength, but for audacity, intelligence, and courage."
"That is a legacy worth remembering."
Eli looked at her, understanding the depth of her words.
The race had been the beginning. What followed would shape the galaxy in ways that few could foresee. Alliances, rivalries, negotiations, and battles would all be influenced by what had just occurred in the arena. Humanity had been seen, recognized, and perhaps feared for the first time by the greatest power in the known galaxy.
"I understand," he said, "and I am ready for what comes next."
Humans will rise to the challenge, and we will not be underestimated again.
The Empress nodded. "Good."
Let the galaxy watch, then. Let them see what happens when a species dares to act beyond expectation.
And let them remember that even the smallest, most unassuming beings can change the course of history. As Eli left the chamber, he felt a sense of purpose stronger than any victory in a race. The arena had tested his skill, patience, and strategy. The Empress had tested his character, intelligence, and vision. Both trials had been passed. Humanity had proven its worth, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Outside, Zyra.
9 sparkled against the backdrop of the stars.
Ships moved in coordinated patterns, and spectators began to leave, talking excitedly about what they had witnessed. Aliens muttered in disbelief, while humans shared cautious pride. For Eli, the significance of the day extended far beyond applause or recognition. It was the beginning of a new era, a time when humans would assert themselves, claim their place among the stars, and show that courage, intelligence, and audacity could redefine the limits of possibility. The Empress watched him one last time, her presence still commanding yet tinged with an acknowledgement rarely granted. In the vastness of space, in the heart of a powerful empire, a small human had made a difference. And as history would record, the audacity of one species had reminded the galaxy that the impossible could always be challenged. Eli knew the journey ahead would be filled with tests, battles, and intrigue. But he also knew this: humanity had been seen. Humanity had been recognized. And now, with the Empress acknowledging their potential, the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. As he prepared to leave the arena and step into the broader challenges that awaited, Eli felt a surge of quiet confidence. The victory had been extraordinary, but the real adventure, the one that would shape the future of his species, was only beginning. And this time, humanity would not just participate in the galaxy's story, they would write it.